So it's a great pleasure to welcome you all to Researcher's Desk and welcome today's speaker from Karolinska Institutet. We have with us today Peter Stenvinkel. Peter is going to be talking to us about learning from nature to make everyone healthier, concept of planetary health. This is kind of a prelude to a book that Peter's going to be coming out with, and we're going to be sharing information about on the Researcher's Desk channels when this comes out. So this is kind of super exciting. I've heard Peter speak before. Peter, you're a wonderful speaker. I already know that. Really, really looking forward to listening to you. I'm going to now turn my own camera off, but I'm in the background, and all you need to do is shout if there's any issues. And if you, for some reason, there's something technically not working, I will reappear and jump in and help out. Peter, welcome to Researcher's Desk. The floor is now yours.
Thank you, Alasdair. So I'm going to talk about planetary health, and I work in the medical field, so this will be about our health. When I was a young boy, I used to play this game when you connect dots, and finally you will see a complete picture. And now I find myself about 50 years later to do exactly the same thing. That we work in the healthcare field, we really now need to understand the links between our health and the health of animals, deforestation, defaunation, pollution, global warming, lack of clean water, loss of biodiversity, food production, and food consumption. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. And I think medicine can actually serve as a window through which we can observe the world and try to understand it. So here you have on the x-axis our chronological age. And when you start to think about chronological age, which is actually a unit of time that denotes the time it takes for the Earth to make one revolution around the sun, you'll find it quite strange that this is the most common risk factor we use in health. It is not time per se that makes us older. It is the wear and tear. That is the biological age. And some of you may have a younger biological than chronological age. I congratulate you. We have, most of us maybe have an average life course when the biological age corresponds to the chronological age. But the problematic group of patients are the one we are taking care of at the Karolinska Hospital, those undergoing premature aging due to burden of lifestyle diseases. In this group of patients, the biological age is older than the chronological age. And this will, of course, reduce the quality of life for these patients. It will increase the cost of healthcare. And the problem we now see is that what is happening on our planet, air pollution, global warming, lack of clean water, toxins, and plastics, seems to increase our biological age. So when we consider human health, we now need to also include the effects on planetary health. So this is a very simple four-fielder, grouped human health into good and bad, and to planetary health, good and bad. And of course, there are some things in our environment that is bad, both for our human health and the planetary health. Tobacco production is not good for our health, but it's also a significant source of deforestation and water consumption. It will take almost 4 liters of water to just produce one cigarette. Ultra-processed food is something else that is neither good for our human health, for planetary health, and I will mention a little later about concentrated animal feeding operations, the CAFU. Then we have things that is good both for our human health and the planetary health. Of course, a climate mitigation scenario which decrease air pollution will be good both for our health and the planetary health, as will sustainable food systems, sustainable and green cities, and also all disease preventive strategies will be very good for both human and planetary health. Then we have some things that are good for our health, but bad for the planetary health. And we must be aware of, we in the healthcare sector, we cause 5 to 10% of all the greenhouse gas emissions. Air conditioning could be good during heat waves, but it's not good for planetary health. I work in nephrology, so hemodialysis for our patients is good for their health, but not good for the planetary health. And then we have, of course, antibiotics. The COVID pandemic was, of course, not good for human health, but actually this was something that decreased the global carbon dioxide emissions by almost 20%. Here we also have unintended detrimental effects of mitigation measures and an increase in health inequalities as a result of some nature-based solutions that I will discuss. And we are aware of that heating will have an impact on our human health. This is no surprise. We just learned that WMO confirms 2023 as the warmest year on record. And we all know that this has major impact on our health. Increase the risk for cardiovascular disease. We know that the heat-related mortality in Europe last summer caused 62,000 deaths. And in my specialty, nephrology, we now see epidemics of chronic kidney disease in rural communities, especially in mid-America, due to heat waves. We also know that heat is something that induces inflammation, which causes a lot of diseases. Heat stress is also something that makes our cells going senescent, so they are getting older. Air pollution may not be a big problem in Sweden, but look at Poland, and there are many areas on our planet that have suffering from severe air pollution, and we know for many years that air pollution causes cardiovascular disease, chronic pulmonary disease, and lung cancer. But I was just shocked when I start to go through the literature to find out the links that have been recently described between air pollution and type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis, ADHD, chronic kidney disease, severe COVID-19, post-COVID syndrome is related to air pollution, dementia, hearing problems, etc. And air pollution, irrespective if it comes from airplanes or cars or volcanoes or forest fires, is something that stress our body. It will promote oxidative stress, inflammation, and this is something that in turn will cause these burden of lifestyle diseases. There are protective systems, and we have a cytoprotective transcription factor called NRF2 that has been developed since the Great Oxygenation event 2.4 billion years ago. But the problem is that recent data suggests that actually air pollution will disrupt this NRF2 pathway, and that may be a reason why air pollution is so strongly related to many diseases. Water. And water stress is already now will become even more of a problem on our planet, especially in Northern Africa, in parts of Asia. And water is interesting because it's the link between the living and non-living world. The amount of fresh water has actually been constant during history, and there is no way we can produce more water. And therefore we have problem when there is a lack of clean water. We now see relations to many diseases, not only infectious diseases, but data suggests that lack of water is related to diabetes, to chronic kidney disease, to obesity, and coronary heart disease. In animals, we see that chronic water restriction is something that shortens our telomeres, which are vital parts on our DNA for protecting against aging. So that is what is common to all these burden of lifestyle diseases that you see here on the right is that we have a vicious circle of something called the diseasome of aging. It's the stress of life. The exposome increase this allostatic overload, and here we have problems with oxidative stress, depletion of this cytoprotective transcription factor, we have mitochondrial dysfunction, and loss of biodiversity in our gut. And there are, of course, many established risk factors for this: mental stress, sedentary lifestyle, genetics, smoking. But now we see also that the environmental stressors, such as global warming, air pollution, heavy metals, nanoplastics, chemicals, stimulate exactly the same disease of aging. And this will be a reason why what's happening now on our planet will increase our biological age. But this will also give us an opportunity, because there is a lot of research to find ways to interrupt this disease of aging with synthetic drugs and bioactive nutrients. But this will also give us an opportunity to prevent environmental stress if we could have such bioactive nutrients and synthetic drugs. I will discuss a little bit about biomimetics, which is a growing field of research. It examines how nature is structured and tries to emulate in different applications. And here we have a lot of opportunities to find solutions developed in nature that could help us in all the diseases I have been mentioned, but also help in planetary health. It's the oldest model measure and mentor humans could ask for to get guidance, but it's also the supra-system in which all organizations are inserted. So we are used to work according to a more anthropocenic organizational structure, and this is a word cloud with a lot of factors that is related to this current organizational structure. In specific, natural resources are used to serve the human demands, and I believe now we really need to move to a more of a biomimetic organizational structure in which we use nature as a model and mentor. And here I will now discuss what we can learn from nature's own intelligence. Something that could help us to protect planetary health, and it has already helped us a lot. We should be aware of that many of the drugs we use today have its origin from plants and flowers. We also use in medicine a lot of animal poisons as medicine. Captopril comes from the Brazilian Bothrops jararaca, a snake, and we have Ozempic, which you may heard a lot about, which actually has its origin in the Gila monster. We could learn a lot from eating habits in animals to help us understand what we should eat and what we should not eat. I'm involved now in research in hibernating bears and in the big cats. And the big cats, they have an enormous problem with chronic kidney disease, which may be due to the intake of red meat. We can also learn from animals and the metabolic patterns in those animals that exhibit negligible senescence. That is, animals that become very, very old. And these are animals that have something in common, and these are animals that can teach us a lot how we should avoid to increase our biological age. We can also learn from solutions that have been developed in animals that survive in extreme environments. Here we have 2 examples, but there are many, many others. We could learn from superorganisms that protect the environment, the wood wide web, this intricate communication system between trees and fungus, as well as the krill in the oceans, can teach us a lot. We have this amazing treasure of all the fruits from Amazonas that are really so rich in bioactive nutrients. And this could maybe a way that we could hopefully stop the deforestation of Brazil's Amazon. You're all aware of this as a major problem, the deforestation to make room for more production of red meat. But think if we instead could use those more than 220 different fruits and berries that you'll find in Amazon. And this is just some of them. And they are so extremely rich in bioactive nutrients that should be able to use for protecting our human health. For example, Camo you see here on the top has a vitamin C content that is 40 times higher than you will find in an ordinary orange. So here we literally have a lot of low-hanging fruits to pick. We live on a hungry planet, and I find these photos here of what a family eat during 1 week in different countries extremely interesting. Look at the American family in the top left corner, compare it to the peasant family in Ecuador in the lower right corner, and it's like we are living on different planets. And of course, this will have an impact on health. And this may be one of the greatest problems we face. How should we feed all these people and also sustain the planet in the next 40, 50 years? And the link between what we eat and our health is via the microbiota, the bacteria in our gut. And there are intimate connections between the microbiota and the immune function, metabolic functions, the nervous system, drug metabolism. And here we have a major problem, because just as we have seen a loss of biodiversity in plants and animals, we are now seeing a loss of biodiversity in the human gut microbiome. And we now have an industrialized microbiota that has never been before during evolution been experienced by our race. So if you have a healthy gut, microbial diversity is like a healthy rainforest. And we know that some of the foods we eat with fibers, fermented food, coffee, beer, red wine will stimulate the microbial biodiversity. But the problem is when you have this poor gut microbial biodiversity, like a palm tree plantation in your gut. And this is what we are now experiencing. And this is something that causes many of the burden of lifestyle diseases we see. We know that artificial sweeteners, too much salt, air pollution, low socioeconomic position, increasing temperature, nicotine, unnatural environment, microplastics, antibiotics will promote a poor gut microbial biodiversity. But of course, the most important cause is the ultra-processed food that is now so common in the western part of the world. In Sweden, we get 40% of all our energy from ultra-processed food. And this is actually what's called here on the Newsweek a toxic food. And here, I really believe that we need to do a lot about this emerging pandemic of ultra-processed food that causes so much disease. And ultra-processed food is not also good for the environment, which was recently presented in Nature Sustainability. So food is the single strongest level to optimize human health and environmental sustainability. We learned so much from the Eat Lancet Commission paper that food production is responsible for 27% of the greenhouse gas emissions and 70% of the freshwater withdrawals. If we continue to eat as we do today, there will be a massive increase in the emission gap. As you can see here, it was almost double until the year 2050. So there is an urgent need of change our eating habits. And here we are lucky because it's the unhealthy food that has the highest environmental impact. This publication in PNAS evaluated the effects of different foods on our health and the environment. And it's quite obvious. You can see food that is good for both the health and the environment are the green lines, but we have unprocessed red meat, we have chicken, we have processed red meat that is neither good for our health and the environment. So a dietary transitions toward greater consumption of healthier foods should also improve environmental sustainability. And we also know that the carnivorous diet is something that drives this diseasome of aging, which I showed in a previous slide. So the food production today is neither good for our health or the planet. And actually, the majority of plant-based proteins is now used for industrial meat production. Quite a little is used for feeding our planet, and this will increase greenhouse gas emission. It will increase the risk of burn or lifestyle diseases, and it will also increase the risk for future pandemics. So hopefully, if we could change the way we produce food, the majority of the plant-based proteins will instead be used to give food to the hungry population, and the smaller part will be used for industrial meat production. And this could have major effects, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, reduce the risk of burn or lifestyle diseases, and also reduce the risk of future pandemics. Concentrated animal feeding operation, the CAFU, is a major disaster. And we all know this, that the increased antibiotic use, the meat will have poor nutritional quality, there is a lot of hormones, there is a lot of stress. It will increase the disease spread of zoonotic diseases, and of course the environmental impact is huge. And you can read a lot about CAFU in this paper about the tragedy of industrial animal factories. Also, these are very well-known polluters. So we need to change the way we breed livestock. Maybe one solution could be to have giant platforms in the water close to the coast. There will be, of course, then no deforestation of valuable land. Cows can drink ocean water, brackish and salt water, and this is something we should really take the opportunity to use, because cows now drink valuable clean water that we humans can use instead. Also, on top of this, red algae from the coastal water could reduce the methane bloating from the cows. Iodine in the ocean winds could biofortify and promote growth and stress tolerance in the livestock. And of course, this way of livestock breeding would reduce the risk for new pandemics. So a radical transformation of the global food system is needed. If we could move to more locally produced plant-based diets, grains, fermented nutrients, limit the red meat, this will undoubtedly reduce the risk of many burn or lifestyle diseases. It would undoubtedly also reduce the greenhouse gas emission, and it is likely that this would also increase our resistance against environmental threats, such as air pollution. So here we have something very interesting. We have a win-win-win opportunity, and that is not often you have that in life. So the power is on your plate. And I have now, as Alasdair told you, written this popular science book about nature's intelligence that hopefully will be published during the spring. I will in here discuss a lot about biological diversity, which is a prerequisite for planetary health. I will discuss a little bit about the human gut microbiota and the changes that we see in the biodiversity of gut microbiome is something that actually promote a lot of disease, and it will promote premature aging. I will also discuss a lot about the butterfly effect and how that could affect the pandemics. A lot about ingenious solutions against environmental threats that already are developed in nature. Many solutions may be right in our backyard. I will discuss here in the book also about the power on our plate, and I will discuss how we should integrate artificial intelligence with nature's intelligence. At the end, I will discuss a little bit about the 6 blind men and the elephant. And maybe you heard this old Indian tale about 6 blind men or women that were given the task to describe an elephant. And as they were blind and were describing different parts, they had quite different opinion on what an elephant is. One of them said that an elephant is like a rope, another the elephant is like a tree, elephant is like a fan. And I think the last few words in this poem that was presented by John Godfrey Sachs about 200 years ago really says it all. And so these men of Hindustan disputed loud and long, each in his own opinion exceeding stiff and strong. Though each was partly in the right and all were in the wrong. And I think this clearly shows that all studies of planetary health must be multidisciplinary. We medical researchers, we need a lot of help and input from other disciplines such as ecology, biology, anthropology, geology, etc. And we can learn a lot and make a lot of new insights if we work in a more multidisciplinary way. I also think we need to use a combination of our own human intelligence with artificial intelligence and nature's intelligence. The human intelligence could actually be quite good. There's a lot of benefits. We are innovative and creative, we are courageous, and we react swiftly to acute threats. But we're also well aware of that there are limitations in our own intelligence. We are greedy, we have a difficulty to handle creeping crises, we are forgetful, we don't learn from mistakes, and we are governed by emotions. And here we can have help of artificial intelligence, which will reduce the workload, will make much faster and more effective decision makings with better precision and also enable personal adaptation. But we miss something here, and therefore I suggest we also would make more use of nature's intelligence, because in nature it puts a stop to inhibited growth and run on sunlight, it fits form to function. In nature there's a good ability for adaptation, and in nature everything is recycled and nature reward cooperation. So to make things happen in a positive way, I really suggest that we should combine these 3 types of intelligence. I will just finish by presenting to you as something we have been working on in the European consortium for 2-3 years now. It's the ePlanet project. And the aim is to assist higher education institutions in addressing an unmet need and accelerate the implementation of planetary health in the medical curriculum. So we have developed an online serious game that will be launched now in the spring. And it is aimed for health professional students to use to learn more about the status of our planet and about planetary health. You could, for example, learn here that 1 gallon water is required to produce 1 cigarette. There's 8 kilograms of plastic waste generated per day per patient in US and I think also European hospitals. And in Europe as well in US, there is an enormous waste of food every year. So this is the kind of stuff these students can't learn in this in online serious game. And of course, this game is totally free for use. And if you are interested to use it also for you students, please contact us and you will get access to it when it has been launched. And this is all funded by the Erasmus program of the European Union. And with this, I think I'm done. Thank you for listening.
And thank you, Petter, for a completely outstanding talk.